OHUHU, COPIC. OHUHU, COPIC. OHUHU, COPIC. COPIC versus OHUHU. Which alcohol marker is my preferred favorite? And I'm about to help you figure out which one might be the best for you. But there are some brands that do some things better than others. So stick around to find out. I think you'll like what I got for you. Yo, what is up? My name is Billy. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you don't know, I'm an artist based out of Tampa, Florida, and we post every week. Speed drawings, tutorials, reviews. So before we get into it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. It helps me out, and like the video for the algorithm. It's so easy. You just gotta click it. But OHUHU versus COPIC. Well, these are COPIC chows, so we're gonna find out which one's better. But as you probably know, there is so many different alcohol marker brands out there. So there's some differences when it comes to choosing your alcohol marker brand. The first thing being, how does it actually fit in your hand? You know, at first I didn't really care too much. You know, how it felt in my hand actually wasn't really important. But trust me, it is. For example, so this is a Spectrum Noir marker. The biggest difference is it's shaped like a damn screwdriver. So when you're holding it, it is the most uncomfortable sensation. It's all big and bulgy and fat and shaped weird. I need something that feels comfortable in my hand if I'm gonna be, you know, working for a long time. All right, so we got the shape. This one's OHUHU and this one is COPIC. The COPIC chow marker is significantly smaller, I would say. It almost feels like you're holding a Sharpie. The OHUHU marker is a bit thicker, and in my opinion, the thinner the actual marker, the more control you have. And another important thing that you wouldn't really think about at first is how much resistance is in the cap when you actually pull it off and put it on. If you gotta bust a gasket to take the cap off and put it back on, that gets really annoying. And you can also spray alcohol ink on your work. So watch how simple this comes off. And back. No effort. But OHUHU, the thick boy, you know, that just, I had to like use muscles there in my back. And then just much more resistance. I know. Billy, why are you worried about the resistance of the marker? That's really not important, okay? And I'll tell you, it is, because you're always having to hold this thing, take multiple caps off at once. You're like, you know, you're into a piece and you're like taking them off and you know, you just want it to be simple. So the COPIC chows have a smaller cylinder shape, which makes it easier to control in my opinion. And I have an easier time taking the cap off, putting it back on, and just have an overall better control with this type of shape. Whereas the OHUHU marker is not as sleek, it's a little bit bigger, it feels cheaper, it still feels fine in my hand, it's a good shape. But if you're asking me which one I prefer, it is the COPIC marker. Alright, the next thing you want to worry about when deciding which brand is best for you is how pointy and durable is the nib on the markers. See, if you have a real pointy nib like this, then you're able to get into really fine areas. But a pointy, durable brush tip nib, I think is gonna give you the best precision so you don't go outside the lines, and that so you can blend better too. All right, so looking at the COPIC chow and the OHUHU, I can tell right off the bat that these are both pretty similar in shape. They're both very pointy, which is good, right? Let me show you what you don't want. So this is what you don't want. This is a Spectrum Noir marker, and there's nothing wrong with the pigmentation of the marker. It's just like the nib is so like bad quality that it frays really quickly. And the nib wasn't pointy or durable to begin with, which is why I always like stress, make sure that the marker that you're choosing, the nib is pointy and strong. Pointy, strong nib, yes. Strong, pointy nib. This works out better when you're trying to, you know, be real delicate. Of course, you got your big broad strokes. That's why it's always important to get a brush tip marker versus, you know, some of them have just the chisel tip and then the fine point. Don't get those. Get something with a brush tip, because it feels like a paintbrush when you're using it. It's very satisfying and it makes it easier to blend. So the OHUHU marker has more flexibility, I think, on the tip, and there's more of a resistance on the COPIC marker. But I do like the looseness of the OHUHU marker versus the stiffness kind of this one, of this COPIC chow. I don't know, as long as I've been using OHUHU markers, none of the nibs have ever like frayed on me. and they've always stayed in good condition, which makes me think the quality of the product is good. So I prefer OHUHU marker over COPIC when it comes to the actual brush. They're both great, but I think OHUHU has a slight advantage here. For beginners especially, what kind of numeric system do you want to follow? You know what I mean? You have OHUHU, which is very simple, you know, R1 through R7. You know, you don't have to figure out which color comes next. It tells you right on the cap. Where with COPIC Chow, it's a little bit harder to follow. This one says YG41. So COPIC has generally a larger spectrum of colors, a lot more different packs. You know, you got set AB, set C4, set 9L. So if you buy a pack of COPICs, likely it's not going to come with a spectrum of reds and blues like you would like OHUHU. If you buy like a $50 pack on Amazon of OHUHUs, you're going to get R1 through R8, B1 through B8, and it's going to be much easier for you to actually expose yourself to blending because you have all of the shades. Where with COPIC, you might have a little bit more of a harder time following the color system, but as you practice and stuff, you do have more options available to you. And once you get used to it, you can buy them individually. You can walk into Michael's and I want C5, 7, and get a specific color that you want. Or you can spend your whole college fund on a big set and get a lot of the colors. Still won't get all of them, you'll get a lot of them. But OHUHU definitely wins, in my opinion, when it comes to the numbering system, especially for people who are just starting out. It's really, really easy to follow. All right, so the next thing we're gonna look at between COPIC Chow and OHUHU markers is the pigmentation, the blending ability, the overall performance. And for this, I'm actually gonna draw something up, and we're gonna split it down the middle. On the left side, I'm gonna use COPIC markers. On the right side, I'm gonna use OHUHU markers. So yeah, let's draw something dope and do a real comparison when it comes to these two markers. Please like the video if you like it. All right, let's do it. have it, guys. Copic Chow versus OHUHU markers. This side is Copic, this side is OHUHU. Which one looks better to you? Let me know down in the comments. But yeah, guys, I was genuinely curious which brand would turn out the best, and I gotta give it to OHUHU. I love it. I'm a faithful OHUHU servant. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is basically my comparison video. OHUHU versus Copic. My preference is OHUHU. What's your preference? But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Get out there and be great. See ya.